Little Lily told the town gossip. Nobody wanted my mama with 5 kids. They said she has too much baggage. The rancher knelt down, looked into her eyes and said, "Sweetheart, 5 kids sounds just about perfect to me. Sometimes the right heart sees blessings where others only count burdens." The dust from the old pickup truck settled slowly onto the gravel road as Clara Bennett stepped out into the blazing afternoon sun. 5 pairs of eyes watched her from inside the vehicle, ranging from her 17-year-old son Marcus down to her youngest 6-year-old Lily, who clutched a worn stuffed rabbit to her chest. "Mama, is this really our new home?" asked 10-year-old Samuel, his voice uncertain as he surveyed the modest farmhouse with its peeling paint and overgrown garden. Clara took a deep breath and forced a smile. "It sure is, sweetheart. Your grandma left it to us and we're going to make it beautiful again." The truth was far more complicated. After her husband Daniel had passed away 3 years ago from a sudden illness, Clara had struggled to keep their family afloat in the city. The bills had piled up, the landlord had grown impatient, and finally, the small inheritance of her late mother's property in Copper Creek, Montana, had seemed like the only answer left. The children tumbled out of the truck one by one. Marcus immediately began unloading their meager belongings, his jaw set with the same determination his father used to wear. 14-year-old Emma helped 12-year-old Grace carry boxes toward the porch, while Samuel explored the perimeter of the house, testing loose boards and peeking into dusty windows. Lily tugged at Clara's worn cotton dress. "Mama, I'm hungry." Clara knelt down to her daughter's level, brushing a strand of golden hair from her face. "I know, baby. Let me get us settled, and I'll make us something to eat." The inside of the house was no better than the outside. Cobwebs decorated every corner, and years of neglect had left their mark on every surface. But the bones were good, Clara reminded herself. The bones were solid. That first week was brutal. Clara worked from dawn until well past dark, scrubbing, repairing, and organizing with whatever materials she could salvage. The children helped as much as they could, though tensions ran high and tears were shed more than once. The money she had saved was dwindling rapidly, and the nearest town was a 15-minute drive down a winding dirt road. It was on the 8th day that she met him. Clara had driven to Copper Creek's only general store to buy flour and sugar. The store was a charming relic of another era, with wooden floors that creaked underfoot and shelves that still bore handwritten price tags. She was examining a bag of dried beans, calculating in her head how far she could stretch her remaining dollars, when a deep voice interrupted her thoughts. "Those are fresh from the Henderson farm. Good quality." She turned to find a tall man in well-worn jeans and a dusty hat watching her with kind eyes the color of aged whiskey. His face was weathered from years of sun and wind, with lines that spoke of both hardship and laughter. He appeared to be in his early 40s, a few years older than her own 38. "Thank you," she said, placing the beans in her basket. "I'm still learning what's good around here." "You must be the one who inherited the Miller place," he said, extending a calloused hand. "I'm Wyatt Callahan. I own the ranch that borders your property to the west." Clara shook his hand, noting the strength in his grip and the warmth in his palm. "Clara Bennett. Nice to meet you, Mr. Callahan." "Wyatt, please." He smiled, and the expression transformed his rugged face into something almost boyish. "How are you settling in?" "That house has been empty for quite a while. It's a work in progress," Clara admitted, then added with more optimism than she felt, "But we're getting there. We, my children and I. There are 6 of us all together." Something flickered in Wyatt's eyes, surprise, perhaps, or curiosity, but his smile never wavered. "Well, if you ever need a hand with anything, don't hesitate to ask. We're neighbors now, after all." Clara thanked him and finished her shopping, but she found herself thinking about the rancher, long after she'd returned home. There was something solid about him, something reliable in a world that had taught her to expect disappointment. Over the following weeks, Wyatt Callahan became a regular presence in their lives. He would stop by with extra vegetables from his garden, claiming his housekeeper had planted too much. He helped Marcus repair the fence along the eastern pasture, teaching the young man knots and techniques that would serve him well. He brought his veterinarian out to look at the stray dog that Lily had adopted, refusing any payment for the service. And slowly, carefully, he began to court Clara. It started with small gestures, a wildflower left on her porch railing, an offer to drive her to church on Sunday when her truck wouldn't start. He invited the whole family to his ranch for dinner one evening, and Clara saw her children's eyes widen at the spacious home and the herds of cattle that dotted the Golden Hills. Emma pulled her aside that night. "Mama, Mr. Callahan is sweet on you." Clara felt heat rise to her cheeks. "Don't be silly." "I'm not being silly. I see how he looks at you." Emma's expression grew serious. "Is that a bad thing?" Clara considered her daughter's question carefully. "I don't know, sweetheart. I really don't know." The truth was, she was terrified. Daniel had been the love of her life, and losing him had nearly destroyed her. The thought of opening her heart again, of risking that kind of pain, made her want to run back to the safety of solitude. But there was also the undeniable flutter in her chest whenever Wyatt was near, the way his presence made the weight on her shoulders feel just a little lighter. It was Lily who forced the issue, in her innocent and devastating way. Clara had taken the children to town for the fall harvest festival. The square was decorated with pumpkins and hay bales, and the smell of apple cider and cinnamon filled the air. While the older children explored the various booths and games, Lily stayed close to her mother, her small hand clasped tightly in Clara's. They encountered Mrs. Patterson, a silver-haired woman who served as the town's unofficial gossip columnist. She looked Clara up and down with an appraising gaze before speaking. "So you're the widow with all those children. My goodness, that must be quite a burden. I don't know how you manage." Before Clara could respond, she noticed Lily looking up at the older woman with wide, solemn eyes. "What is it, dear?" Mrs. Patterson asked, bending slightly toward the child. Lily's voice was clear and steady. "Nobody wanted my mama with 5 kids. That's what people said back in the city. They said she had too much baggage." Clara's heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. She had been so careful to shield her children from the whispered judgments, the dates that ended the moment she mentioned her family, the pitying looks from neighbors who saw her as a cautionary tale. She hadn't realized that Lily had absorbed every cruel word like a sponge. "Lily," she began, but her voice caught in her throat. "That's nonsense," came a familiar, deep voice. Clara turned to find Wyatt standing behind them, his expression fierce and protective. "He must ha! We heard everything." Mrs. Patterson straightened indignantly. "Mr. Callahan, You were simply being unkind, Margaret, and we both know it." Wyatt's tone brooked no argument. "This woman and her children are treasures, not burdens. Anyone who can't see that doesn't deserve to know them." Mrs. Patterson huffed and retreated, but Wyatt's attention was already elsewhere. He knelt down to Lily's level, just as Clara herself so often did, and looked into the little girl's eyes. "Do you know what I see when I look at your mama and your brothers and sisters?" he asked softly. Lily shook her head, her lower lip trembling. "I see a family full of love. I see courage and strength and loyalty. I see everything I've ever wanted." He glanced up at Clara, and the emotion in his eyes made her breath catch. "Your mama isn't carrying a burden, she's carrying a blessing, and any man worth his salt would be honored to help her carry it." Lily studied him for a long moment, then asked the question that had been weighing on her young heart. "But don't you think 5 kids is too many? That's what everyone says." Wyatt smiled, and it was the most beautiful smile Clara had ever seen. "Sweetheart, I grew up on a ranch. You know what the best thing about a ranch is? There's always room for more. More horses, more cattle, more dogs, more love." He reached out and gently touched Lily's cheek. 5 kids sounds just about perfect to me." Clara felt tears streaming down her face, and she didn't bother to wipe them away. Something that had been frozen inside her for 3 long years was beginning to thaw. That evening, after the children were tucked into bed and the house was quiet, Clara sat on the porch swing and watched the stars emerge one by one. She wasn't surprised when she heard the rumble of an approaching truck, or when Wyatt's familiar silhouette appeared in the moonlight. He settled beside her on the swing, close enough that their shoulders touched. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. "I meant what I said today," he finally murmured. "Every word." "I know," Clara whispered. "That's what scares me." He turned to face her, taking her hands in his. "Clara, I'm not going to pretend I have all the answers. I don't know what tomorrow will bring, or next month, or next year. But I know what I feel. I've known it since the first day I saw you in that store, trying so hard to be strong for everyone else that you forgot someone should be strong for you." "Wyatt, let me finish." His grip tightened slightly. "I was married once, a long time ago. She passed from a fever before we could have children of our own. For years I thought that chapter of my life was closed forever. I threw myself into the ranch, told myself that work was enough." He shook his head. "It wasn't. It isn't." Clara looked into his eyes, seeing her own pain and loneliness reflected there. "I'm scared," she admitted. "I'm scared of being hurt again. I'm scared of my children getting attached and being disappointed. I'm scared of wanting something I can't have." "And what is it you want?" he asked quietly. The answer came easier than she expected. "A partner. Someone who sees all of us, not just me. Someone who understands that loving me means loving them too, with all our chaos and noise and mess." Wyatt brought her hands to his lips and kissed them gently. "Then I'm your man, Clara Bennett. I'm ready for all of it. The chaos, the noise, the mess, the late nights and early mornings, the scraped knees and teenage drama, the laughter and the tears." His voice dropped to a whisper. "I'm ready for you." She leaned forward and kissed him then, there on the porch swing under the vast Montana sky. It was a kiss full of promise and possibility, of endings and beginnings woven together. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing heavily, Wyatt rested his forehead against hers. "I should warn you," Clara said, a smile playing at her lips. "We're quite a handful, darlin'," he drawled. "I've been wrangling cattle for 20 years. I think I can handle a few kids." She laughed, the sound surprising her with its lightness. She couldn't remember the last time she'd laughed like that. They were married 3 months later, in a small ceremony at the Copper Creek Church. Lily served as the flower girl, scattering rose petals with solemn concentration. Marcus stood as the man of the family, shaking Wyatt's hand with newfound respect. Emma, Grace, and Samuel filled the front pew, their faces bright with hope. As Clara walked down the aisle toward her future, she saw Wyatt's eyes glistening with unshed tears. He looked at her like she was the answer to every prayer he'd ever whispered into the darkness. And when the minister asked if there was anyone who objected to this union, Lily's small voice piped up from the front row. "Nobody objects. We've been waiting forever for this." The congregation erupted in laughter, and Wyatt swept Clara into his arms, kissing her before the minister had finished the final words. Later that night, as the celebration wound down and the children fell asleep in their new rooms at the ranch, Clara stood on the back porch and looked out at the rolling hills painted silver by moonlight. Wyatt came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "What are you thinking, Mrs. Callahan?" She smiled at the name. "I'm thinking about what Lily said at the festival, about nobody wanting us. And now," Clara turned in his arms, cupping his face in her hands, "now I'm thinking about how wrong they all were. We just had to find the right one, the one who was ready." Wyatt kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the tip of her nose, and finally her lips. "I'll spend the rest of my life proving it to you," he promised. "To all of you." And he did.